pleasure to hand over to Florian and Matthieu.
Thank you very much, Carsten, and welcome everybody to this really exciting new integration, new upgrade of our forecasting system. I'm really happy to present this today together with you, together with Matthieu, who's the head of evaluation at ECMWF. And it is fantastic to see so many familiar names, friends, but also so many new people who want to listen to this upgrade of the cycle. Next slide, please, Carsten. This is, of course, the first cycle which comes out of our new data center in Bologna, and of course, use the new power of our new HPC system. And here you see a beautiful picture of how it looks like. And if you haven't been there yet, I really encourage you to take a trip down to Bologna. We are all at ECMWF really excited to bring this up to a substantial cycle. The upgrade represents several years of work, and I hope you will all agree that once you have tested it, it was really worth the wait. Next slide, please. As Carsten already pointed out, there was a presentation a while ago on the 2nd of March by Andy Brown. And of course, you can still access the presentation on the website. And the website is posted here. And I hope somebody's going to put the link. Yeah, Becky already put the link into it. And I really encourage you to click this website and hit the watch button. All updates will be on this website. Everything which is going to change, we show on the website, we show you the scores, and nearly everything of this presentation today is on this website. So hit the upgrade button. Our current target date for implementation is the 13th of June. And of course, yesterday we started the release candidate phase. So you've got the first data already on your hard drive, on your disk, or wherever you are in the cloud. And then 2 weeks later, we're going to upgrade the CAMS model, so the atmospheric monitoring service model, with the same cycle number. Next slide, please. Andy's presented you already exciting methodological updates in there, and here's just a list. I'm not going to read out that list. You can see that this contains substantial upgrades in data simulation, in observations, but also so many different model contributions. It is this time a really very substantial cycle, considerably bigger than anything else we have released before, which is possible because we have this new exciting data center. Next slide, please. One of the key changes, and probably the change which has the most impact you, is a change in the ensemble configuration. There is no change to the vertical resolution, so that's a release. However, the resolution of the ensemble will increase to match the current resolution of the high resolution, which is 9 km. The control forecast will be slightly different from the ensemble, but from the high res, but actually is statistically the same. But most exciting, what you see in the bottom graph is that the extended range ensemble will upgrade to 101 members and start from day 0 every day. The release times will stay the same. There are several other upgrades which you can read through, and Matthieu will point you to some of them. Next slide. Nearly there. Next slide, sorry, Carsten, the checklist. The one thing I want you to do is to check certain things. It's a check, there's only 7 points I want you to remember. The week has 7 days, so I hope you're going to remember that. So do those 7 things to ensure that this model cycle will go as smooth as possible for you. As I said already, please study the implementation page and hit the watch for updates. Try out some data, please. Please try some test data. You will see, and Matthieu will show this, and I will present in a second, that we're going to have a new way of CRIP2, and we're going to have them packed rather than unpacked. And please install the new easy codes library and try to see whether you can use those data. Check your processing chains, of course, as you usually would do, and make sure they all work correctly with test data. Be aware of default packing behaviors which are changing. Again, they're listed on the website. If you use the extended ensemble products, pay particular attention, because as I said, it's got 101 members, starting from, say, 0. And if you have any issues, any questions, or anything which is unclear to you, of course, now you can put them in the chat. There's loads of ECMWF experts currently online which will be able to help you, but also you can report them via the support portal, and we will help you as much as possible to make this as smoothly as possible. Go to the next slide, please. One of the key things is compression. With a data volume, with an ensemble going to 9 kilometers, of course, there's a data volume issue, and we need to start working on compression. And we will be introducing compression for all grip2 fields. And you see a reason here. Quite simple. If you have grip2 uncompressed compared to grip2 compressed, we save 35%. Compared to grip1, we actually save 46%. And then really, the other really exciting thing, it scales resolution. If you want to have really technical details and want to get in depth of what actually is happening, there's a tech memo 900 published. However, if you lose the latest EC codes library, you will see no change. You will see no difference. It shouldn't bother you whatsoever. You will see no difference in how it's used. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Our colleagues from the development section are here and would be able to answer you any questions which are there. Next slide. And this is my slide where I will hand over to Matthieu for the rest of the presentation to show you some of the verification results, but also some of the other exciting things which happen. There's new parameters. Again, you will find a full list on the website. Have a check, new precipitation types, most severe frequent precipitation types which have been upgraded, more physically consistent CAPE parameters, but also revise of the snow parameters as we introduce a multi-layer snow scheme. And if you go back to the presentation by Andy, which I had in the first slide, which a recording you can find on the website, you will see what happened there. And with that, I'll hand over to Matthieu.
Thank you very much, Florian. Okay, so I will go through some of those, let's say, new or revised parameters that are shown here. So to start with, I'll start with the convective hazards. So we are at the final stage of a multi-year process to improve and provide better guidance on convective hazards in response to the requests of users and through a collaboration with the European Silverstorm Laboratory. So 48R1 will come with a revision of parameters related to convection hazard, so namely the maximum CAPE over the last 6 hours and also the maximum CAPE shear for the last 6 hours. They will now use in 48R1 the most unstable CAPE parameter rather than the CAPE, which will provide a more consistent physical content in this. So as shown in this plot here, so we have at the upper row the 47R3, which is the operation one, and below the 48R1, which there are significant differences with generally larger values for 48R1 under this new, more consistent framework. These new CAPE-based variables will be inherited in our extreme forecast index and shift of tail products in the computation of those products that are used for extreme weather forecasts. So as we show here, so this is shown here, the differences may look a bit small, but in any case, those are, so the results and so those parameters are revised in the forecast, but they also are in the reforecast, and the reforecasts are used to compute the model climate, which makes everything consistent. So here we see that with 48R1, we will provide benefit to better detection of convective-related high-impact weather. So there's another thing is the precipitation. So precipitation type is something that already exists, but the parameter was revised with adding a new precipitation type, which is freezing drizzle. So freezing drizzle is a super cool warm rain process occurring at sub-zero temperatures. Those are precipitation type that create hazardous weather by creating icy surface. And the process of formation of those is different to freezing rains. So basically before 48R1, the freezing drizzle was not predicted in the IFS. So now 48R1 provide new and microphysics scheme, allowing those freezing drizzle to be predicted. And we added that in the prediction and the precipitation type parameter under WMO code 12. And it will appear in the ensemble precipitation type metogram and also on related map plots. I show you below an example case study of a case of Germany in 2017 with the operation at that time that shows no indication of a freezing drizzle, while the observation type that you can see in the middle actually have some in the southern part and near the born in this area in Bavaria and Saxony. And with the new physics here, we have those valuable information and also verifies also when we compare with the observation shown in the middle. Precipitation type, so it's a revised parameter, but it's only valid at the output time. So we provide a new parameters with 48R1 that will store the most frequent and the most severe precipitation type occurrence in the last 1 hour, 3 hours, and 6 hours, which will depend on the forecast lead time. Those new parameters will be presented with numbers, with the severity, depending on the severity, and you see the severity order here on the right. And just from, as you can see, so the freezing drizzle is one of the uppermost severe type that will be shown in this under this parameter type. Okay, some words about the 10-day meteograms that will be revised. This is mostly due to the fact that we will have this increase of resolution that will make the ensemble at the resolution of the HRES, and hopefully have the HRES and the ensemble control play an equivalent role as unperturbed runs. Those will not be bit identical under 48R1, which is for only technical reasons, and something that will be solved for 49R1. But in this case, we will start this transition by providing on the ensemble meteogram only one of them, which will be that you can see here under this prototype, with the ensemble control being the only one. Of course, there will be other changes under the meteogram due to this resolution. The location of the place of the point, so the point location will not be the same, as there is a change of resolution, of course. Okay, I'll go now to the verification. So to provide a wide overview of the performance of the new cycle, that's the new e-suite that is now released since yesterday. Before that, I'd like to mention that in this e-suite, as part of the technical implementation, we have identified an issue in the ensemble forecast. This issue consists in, to say it in a few words, unrealistic amounts of supercooled liquid water, sometimes forming in very cold and low humidity environments of the parts of Siberia, Canada, and most generally also Eastern Asia, under specific conditions. This results in increase of precipitating snow in this area, which in turn leads to unrealistic increases of snow depth. If not corrected, this snow depth and this net could lead to problem in the melt season on the screen. So this issue has been identified and understood, and an update of the e-suite is planned for release in the coming week. However, we choose to stick to our current timeline, given also that this issue does not affect all the other new contribution in this cycle, in this e-suite, and the results and performance obtained through this cycle upgrade. So I will go through the verification of that, and just to say that you need to watch the implementation page, as supporting information will be provided on that. So I will show now the latest ensemble scorecards for the ensemble provided by the e-suite. So just to show you, this is a basic scorecard that that will be available. So those scorecards provide a lot of scores. I just picked a few of them on different regions, and those are clickable on this website, so that you can also see the evolution of some parameters and some of the scores, and also see the improvement on some degradation. Here I show that for the e-suite, which means ensemble runs, so 1 per day, with nearly 370 runs from between 2020 and 2023. So very recently, early this week. Just as a reminder, the first lines is a verification against your own analysis, and the lowermost are the verification against observations, which are actually the one I will focus on for these last slides. And the red means that the e-suite is worse than the control and the operational run, and the blue that it's better, so in improvement. And I would like to stress first that, as you can see here for the surface parameters, so humidity, temperature, and total precipitation, but also wind, precipitation, etc., an improvement, I would say blue lines, which you can relate to a lot of improvements in the surface analysis, but also the simulated land surface that is more consistent with the overlying atmosphere. And so a lot of other contribution. And we have this improvement here shown for the CRPS, the continuous ranked probability scores, up to 5% here for the temperature, 3% for precipitation, etc. Improvement also for tropospheric upper air, shown here with, again, some blue line with 1% to 3%, for instance, for the geopotential high at 500 hectopascals, and up to 6% to the temperature for the temperature at 850, so in the northern hemisphere. For the stratospheric upper air, a mixed picture, but still with improved winds, but also some degradation for temperatures and also geopotential height. The scores there are quite sensitive to small bias changes, but which is interesting for this improvement. Still, there are some improvement, especially for the winds, and it's good. And I think it's worth mentioning it since it's also benefits for the extended range. I'll focus now on some slides on the performance related to the tropical cyclone forecasts. Here I show the score for the ensemble mean absolute intensity forecast error, so related to the intensity. So here you can show, so based on a number of situations that has been identified, that there is an improvement here. And the improvement is quite significant because we have a more than 20% improvement of ensemble mean absolute error for the so on the intensity of the cyclones, which can be seen here with the blue line being the operation and 48R1 in red. You can see here also below the spread, where we see that for the shorter time scale, we still are on the spread here. Not to mention also, as I don't mention here, and don't show here in this slide, that there is also improvement in the position of the tropical cyclone. This improvement amount to 7% reduction of the track error, with also a good spread skill with relation. And to finish with the cyclones, I just wanted to show this case study, which is related to this storm Freddy, which we still talk about, and which is going up, which is likely to be the longest lasting tropical cyclone on record. On the left here, you can see some of the products that we have for tropical cyclone, mainly the mean sea level pressure at the core of the tropical cyclone, the wind speed, and also probabilistic, the probability of intensity for the operational system here, and for 48R1 on the right. And here, when we see here, and so the red dot, which are the reported pressure, we can see clearly the improvements in 48R1, with the red dot being in the spread of the ensemble encompassing that for most of the time of this prediction initialized on the 16th of February. So true improvement here also on the predicted intensity, which actually illustrates the statistical point that I showed on the previous slide. You still see that the observed track that was already in the spread of the ensemble here, which is here, you have here what is shown in the middle. It's the strike probability, the probability that Freddy pass within the 120 kilometer radius during the next, etc. And what you can see is that we have more ensemble member with 48R1 encompassing this observed track, which is the best track provided by the RSMC in La Réunion. And finally, before closing that, so just another slide on the extended range now. So just to say that there are also improvements with respect to performance of the in the extended range with 48R1. I'm not showing here results of an E-Suite but showing some, let's say, comparable results with using only the 47R3 model and data simulation, but showing the impact of the two main enhancements with this extended range, which is the now 100 members, but also the fact that we have the same resolution starting at 0 time step. And you see here that we have positive impacts on the left with this scorecard, meaning with blue, meaning that this is positive impact, even at week 3 and 4. And that also this the improvement of having more ensemble members shows also a better representation, better resolution of the probability density forecast here shown, for example, of the tropical cyclone strike probability for week 4 on the right. 48R1 model changes as modest but overall positive impact on the weekly mean bias corrected scores with improved forecasts of, for instance, stratospheric zonal wind anomalies. Let's also mention that there are lots of other improvements really in this with this new extended range forecast configuration with more frequent frequency for forecasts and also possibility of creating lagged ensemble with more initial start dates. Okay, so we are at the end of this webinar. So I'd like to thank also all the colleagues at ECMWF that make that happening. Also to the collaboration with member states and others, and also just to remind that there is here the timeline with the implementation target here at 13th of June. So as I said, there is an update coming within the next week with the issue that I mentioned earlier corrected. And just now, feel free to test the data to get familiar with the technical aspects of this huge upgrade, and stay tuned and watch this implementation page. And I thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Should we look at some questions in the chat?
Question by Felix, Carsten, whether the scorecards will be on the Confluence page, and it's my understanding we will upload the scorecards fairly soon. Is that correct?
Exactly. So yeah, because we wanted to really carefully check the situation with that bug Matthieu mentioned, we will hold on a little bit, but then make all the scorecards available as with previous upgrades. There's one question here about, IFS Cycle 48R1 beta test data is available from Mars, but when will this data be available from PRED? So by the 13th of June, this will hopefully be no longer test data. Then we will be sort of operational. So there isn't a product editor yet, but also that will be made available very soon. For those who have access to the test system, they will be able to edit their test requirements and receive those data. Already now, some streams are available. So if you have access to the test dissemination system, you can already trigger the transmission of some test data.
Okay, just to say, I encourage some ECMWF staff on the call just to also answer the questions in the chat because they're coming in very quickly, which is great to see. We've got a question from Hannah further up, which I think we may have, unfortunately, sorry, Hannah, overlooked, which is regarding the nth resolution upgrade. Will you still provide a stream with the current resolution? I'm not sure I fully understand, but we will be providing the two different streams. One is for the extended range starting at day 0, and one is for the medium range also starting at day 0. both with the respective resolutions. But I'm not sure that answers your question, Hannah.
Maybe I could add the ENSOS resolution will double. However, if you get the data via dissemination or from Mars, you can always choose a coarser resolution. So, for example, the current one. So, yeah, in terms of what sort of data volumes and resolution you receive, you can get exactly what you are getting now.
Thank you. That answers my question.
See, Carsten, far more competent. Thank you very much. Then Nick is asking, at what point will we be able to change our dissemination requests to access the parallel 48R1 data? To my understanding, we already started to distribute that, but maybe somebody from data services could answer that one. Emma, thank you.
At the moment, the plan is that for the first cycle, only the so-called mandatory changes, which are the ones that affect the ENS extended streams, so the 46-day model, only that will be done automatically because that's what we can produce. Then once we've done the first run or two, we'll then allow changes the following day for any additional updates or changes.
Thank you, Emma. Does this answer your question, Nick? In case it doesn't, really.
Sorry. So I was asking in respect of the parallel trial data, the data that's available now. Essentially, we can't file a new dissemination request.
This will be
for those
next
test
week,
data streams next week. Okay, because
yes.
we need to change our request to be able to make use of
yes, it's almost ready to go.
Data.
It's almost ready to go, but at the moment you can only get the CCSDS compression test data.
Okay. Thank you. So we can change it next week. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Emma. What will the final size increases for ends in high resolution versus current cycle cause new compression will remove some parts of size compared to run a day? Maybe Tiago could answer this one. I don't have exact figures in my head. I see Tiago's looking a bit baffled too. He needs to think about it.
Well, I believe if you compare the new ensemble resolution with the previous, I think that the volume of the gridded data will only go up, I think, by a factor of 1.2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to understand what the question. Yes. So if we see, we would normally have quadrupled more or less the data size. But due to the compression, we estimate that the increase will be about 20% relative to what we produce today.
Thanks, Carsten, Tiago. And then the next one is from Stefan. We're getting 51 ensemble members today. Will this setup change automatically to 101? Emma, I presume it probably has to be requested to be changed or not.
For this one, we're actually asking for users to declare an intention. We can make an automatic translation from the 50 to the 100, but we can also leave it at 50 members. It's entirely up to you. If you'd like to feedback which one you prefer, then that's what we can implement.
Okay, thank you. That perfectly answers my question.
Thanks, Stefan. Nick, do you anticipate any changes in product dissemination time during the day? No, that wasn't my. So we expect that the delivery time will remain the same at the moment.
There's another question regarding bzip2 compression on the data streams. So the compression algorithm we are using is more effective than bzip2. However, if your data is mostly GRIB1 data, for which we cannot apply this compression algorithm, or you will still see some effects, some advantage for using bzip2. If what you're getting is GRIB2 data, and you do not change the packing, meaning you take the CCSDS packing, you won't gain much by doing the bzip2.
Does this answer your question? Or... Thank you. Obviously it does. Will freezing rain be added to the EFI? I actually don't know. Matthieu or somebody from the products team?
I don't think that's in the plans, I would say.
Okay, but we'll take it process, we take it as a user request, and then we evaluate how difficult it is to do. So we make a note of it, so it will not be forgotten. On what date next week should we expect the products requirements editor to go live for the test data? Asked Elliot. Emma, you're in heavy demand here.
We don't actually have a definite date yet. We plan to move all of the data support apps from Reading to Bologna on the 22nd. So we will either put the test release out before this or after this. So possibly the Tuesday or the Thursday. We're not sure which yet.
As soon as we are sure it will be on the implementation page.
Exactly.
Good.
So are there any further questions? Either live on the chat?
Will the easy regimes table file for the extended range be updated with all 101 members?
Florian, is Fernando.
Yeah.
Yeah, in principle, that is the plan. So basically to upgrade to the new configuration. So the user should expect that number of ensemble members increasing. Yeah.
Thanks, Fernando. Magnus, is that sufficient?
Yes, thank you. I guess the format and everything else is the same. It's just more ensemble members in the file.
I presume so.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Yeah.
Cool. Nick, can you clarify what will happen on the first cycle of production 48.1? Will we be able to get the same field members resolution we requested for the trial data? Emma, I presume that is the case.
No, unfortunately, the plan is that only the mandatory ones. So the ENS extended change from ENFO to EFO and ENFH to EEFH, etc. Those changes will happen. But the changes for the 9 kilometer ENS and the new parameters won't happen on the first run. At the moment, that's the plan.
And the 101 ensemble members of the extended?
This is possible if you choose for that to happen. If you don't want the full 100 members, we can leave it at 50, I believe.
So then can you clarify how long it will take to get the 9 kilometer ENS data in production for 48R1?
I don't have a definite date, but I would imagine the next day, just to let 1 or 2 cycles go through first.
Okay, so we need to plan then to have a transition process in place on our side.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's a very good question, Nick, and I think we're probably going to add something to the Carsten, if you could make a note, we're going to add something to the website to make this more clear so you can actually plan.
Thank you.
If that's okay. And then if it's not clear enough, just post a question. Tom is asking whether all parameters are both grip 1 and grip 2. The short answer is no. But I invite Tiago to give you a reasoning of the extent.
That is not so. No, not all parameters can be converted back and forth from grip 1 to grip 2. We can try, but this is very often this is not the case. So, and therefore, this is part of a bigger project we have at the center that we are going to migrate over time for the next years, more and more parameters to grip 2 in order to take advantage of the compression work we have introduced now.
Mari is asking whether the test data are available. There's already test data which you can actually download from the website, and you will find a link on the website to download those test data. So it is already the case and has been the case for a bit. And of course, now we also started parallel stream, so there's more data available for you too. Does this clarify your question, Mari? Good, perfect. Petra, what are the plans for designation of high-res compared to ensemble when thinking about replacing high-res BC by ONS control? So at the moment you will be able to get both. So the control and the high-res will be both produced. As Matthieu pointed out, there should be statistically you shouldn't be able to distinguish between the two, also they're not bit identical. And we will announce the plans of what exactly is going to happen regarding high-res and control later this year, not too far away. But we're still debating how to do it exactly.
Eric is asking if CCSTS compression will apply to HRES as well as ENS script2 files. Yes, it will apply to all streams.
Petra's asking in respect to timings, which is a good question. So currently you will be able to get the current HRES and the control at exactly the same timings as they're available now. And as I said, in the future, we're currently debating how to best do a transition, because as they're the same, de facto the same output, doesn't really make much sense to produce them twice. But we will have a detailed discussion with member states and requirements and users and data users what would be the best solution. But Petra, was that what you meant? Cool, thank you. Yes, Thiago's posted something else about the compression. As said, Thiago, could you please post a link to the tech memo in the chat too, so if people are interested in more detail, they can have actually a look. We did quite a detailed study, what would be the best solution for us and you, hopefully.
That's also linked from the implementation page.
Oh, thank you, Carsten. Are you aware of any changes in the crypt file describing which members belong to each cluster in the ensemble 15 days? Don't worry about the bad writing. I'm dyslexic, so I can read over that. Thiago, do you know the answer to that one? Or anybody else?
I'm not aware of any changes relating with that product. So I think should be the same.
Yeah, I suspect it's you mean in terms of the metadata defining the data? If that's what you mean, I think it remains the same.
Yes, how we read the grip file.
Yes, I think it remains the same.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Magnus, we will, because the answer is a bit we all believe, so we're going to check, and if it's different, we will make clear that we point this directly out to you, but also put it on the websites. Okay.
Good. Thank you very much.